Today's episode comes with an invitation for the audience to participate in the topic.
Are we going to play kiddies games?
Like what?
I don't know. Pass the parcel.
Something like that, I guess.
Tiddlywinks.
I don't know that game.
Ludo.
Is that the one where you have to stretch yourself out on the floor and touch colours? What's that thing?
No, that's Twister.
Oh, no, I don't know that one either.
Okay. Legless Creatures and Ladders.
I don't like that game. Just, no.
No. Welcome to the Journey to Here podcast. I'm M.
And I'm Dee. Here we chat about life skills, business, growing, and building. We hope to inspire you on your journey to here.
Wherever your here may be. Okay, so what are we actually really doing today?
So I had this idea earlier this week to chat about the books that I've read and that you've read that I believe have changed the way we look at life and how we deal with the world and our philosophy and just who we actually are. Because I do believe that the books we read and the movies we watch and the music we listen to, all these things shape us. They are like the conversations we have with people, but these are just conversations you have with an author. I thought it would be quite cool to have a discussion, almost like a little book club, on 3 books that each of us have read and why these books have made the impact on us the way they did. Now, when I discussed this idea with you, both of us found it very easy to get book 1 and 2, and it happened that both of us had a similar book in that top 2 list as well. But we're really having an issue to decide on that one book for the 3rd place because
there's only one place left. There's so many books.
And it almost feels like any book that one can add to this needs support from a bunch of others. Maybe it's part of a series by the same author, or maybe it's kind of a repetition of what's already been discussed in one of the first 2 books. It's quite tricky to get to book number 3, and therefore we would like some input from the audience on what your book would be. You can send 1 or 2 or 3 books that you've read in your life that have shaped your philosophy on life, or that have just been so impactful. And it can be any genre. It can be something philosophical. It can be a DIY book if it has to. It can be a piece of history, whatever.
I'm going to suggest that people actually reach out on mail with this rather than leave a comment somewhere. Let's actually get them to drop us a mail.
Drop a mail and share the book, and if you know the author, share that as well, and we can maybe start something similar like this and just share and tell people about more books, because this is something that I think works like any journey that one gets on. When you start doing research, you'll discover an author that you really enjoy, and then that leads into the other works by the same author, and then you may realize that you really enjoy the genre and you start reading authors that just enjoy writing about that particular topic. So that would be nice to share. Are we ready to at least just tell people about the 2 books that we have on our list, and then in a follow-up episode when we have options for number 3, we will do a quick review of why these books have become so important in our lives.
So, Dee, what are your 2 books?
Book number 1 was written by Ayn Rand, and that is Atlas Shrugged. I read Atlas Shrugged when I was in my early 20s. At that time, it was probably the longest book I've ever read. When I saw how many pages it had, I wasn't sure that I was ever going to be able to finish it, and it took me quite a few weeks to get through it. But we mention Atlas Shrugged, we mention the works of Ayn Rand quite often, so we will get to the discussion on that later. That is definitely book 1 on my list. And then book 2 I read probably 10 years later when a friend told me about this book and this author, and then I also started reading more of this author's works, but decided that if you just read this one book, you understand a lot of his philosophy on life, and that is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Tell us about the first 2 books on your list.
So just to spice things up, I'm going to change the order because we do have one book in common. And the order for me is number 1, The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. It was a book that was given to me as a very young man to read by my father. And whilst it is primarily a business book, it is also a life book. So that's number 1. I'm looking forward to discussing these books at a later stage. And number 2 is the book that we have in common, and that is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Absolutely. Those are the 2 most powerful influences in terms of books. And I think I would just want to make the comment at this point. The books that we have in our lists, both of your books, are fiction works. My books, I have 1 non-fiction, 1 fiction. We often underestimate the value of fiction, and we also underestimate the strong messages that come through a fiction book that, if written as a pure piece of philosophy or as a non-fiction book, would be rejected outright by many people in society. And authors are able to, in many cases, write that in fiction which would not be allowed to be written in non-fiction.
We recently also talked about how I am on this journey of just learning more about world history and events and how they fit into a timeline. And for me, a lot of historical novels have been exceptionally useful in understanding what happened and how these events tied in with other events and how they shaped history and eventually the lives of many people. I think for me that also just reminds one that we are humans with stories, and it is our story, it is our backstory, it is our history, sometimes shared history and sometimes history that no one else necessarily understands, that connect us and that can bridge gaps that can be there between people. We as humans have over centuries been able to share wisdom and life lessons and ideas through storytelling. A story is such a powerful way of making sometimes very abstract and difficult concepts something that can be understood and digested and ultimately used. You see this in various forms of religion, where the story is the thing that is remembered, and then the lesson and the morals behind that is built into it and becomes part of the way of life if you have listened to this and have experienced the storytelling. And therefore, again, for parents and people that are shaping the world of other people, it is so important to be involved in what your child is going to be listening to and watching, if it is something that they are going to see on a TV show. We have friends who, when their little daughter was about 4 or 5 years old, noticed that her behavior was suddenly changing for the worse, and she was just not the sweet kid that she used to be. She was starting to show aggression, and she was also in general not a pleasant little person to be around anymore. And then when they started looking at what she was watching when she was on her own and watching what we would consider normal kiddies TV, realized that the content on kiddies TV was not something that aligned with their value systems. And they reduced her screen time, and they started to take that particular series away and rather replace it with either something like coloring in and crafts, and when there was screen time, something that they were more comfortable with. And that immediately had such a big difference on how she was interacting again. That which we are exposed to is the thing that we are going to show back and going to be emulating to those around us.
And one of the things that we have learned more and more is to control our information flow and control what information we expose ourselves to. And if one is to listen to many of the thought leaders, the intellectuals that we encounter in the, shall we say, more mindful media space, one of the common threads going through that intellectual space is stop watching the news. Stop subjecting yourself to short format propaganda and start exploring longer format. We are gradually being conditioned to consume information in shorter and shorter pieces. And information in short format is normally targeted purely at emotion. There is no time for intellectual content in short format. Why do we say this? Read. It is one of the most important things you can do. One of the things that has changed my life is a Kindle. An e-reader has changed my experience of reading, and I still prefer printed books. I love a hard copy, but it's not the easiest way to read. Make reading easy for yourself. Don't overcomplicate matters, but train yourself to read again, not just social media feeds, not someone else's short opinion on current events. But go and pick up a book. Go and pick up something easy to read, and then pick up something more difficult. Alternate between the two. Make a commitment to finish a book. And this is something, D, that you're really good at. You've read some books that you have really struggled to get through the long format.
I think when I read Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, it took me, if I think back now, it was about 81 years, 716 months, and 12 days to finish. It felt like that book was never going to stop. And what I've then started doing with these longer books was to break them up. So I would read a big section of one of the big books and then read something that I know will be easy in between, almost as a little halfway marker and a celebration, just to change the pace and just to go through something quickly. And then I would go back and read further. So that's how I also read something like Count of Monte Cristo, which is also a big book. It's one of the classics, and that can take you quite a long time to get through, and that's how I did that. Something that I enjoy doing is finding the books that many movies are based on. I read The Godfather after watching The Godfather multiple times, and then when I read the book, I realized how many things were mentioned in the book that you never see in the first two episodes or first two sections of The Godfather. It's not that it was supposed to be word for word the same. It was based on the novel, but that was also just a wonderful way of getting more information and understanding of the characters in the movies. So that is something that I thoroughly enjoy doing. We have recently watched quite a few spy series and spy movies, and we've always been fans of the work of someone like Jean Le Carre, which wrote books like The Constant Gardener, but also Little Drummer Girl. And with The Little Drummer Girl, there was the movie back in the 70s or 80s, and then a remake was done in the early 2000s as a mini-series. And that is obviously also based on a book. And once you start reading these books and you've seen either a mini-series or a movie, it just helps to set the tone and maybe explore authors that you have never heard about and that you then end up learning more about and enjoying their work so much.
We have two little messages here. The one is reach out. Let us know which 2 or 3 books have influenced your life and helped to mold you into who you are today, the way you do things, the way that you see things. You can reach out at hello@thejourneytohere.co.za. And then the other encouragement is read. Just pick up a book and read. Learn. If you've lost that skill, learn to read and enjoy long format. Get involved again. Get invested in reading. Extend your attention span. Rediscover the joy of reading and the influence that reading has on your ability to concentrate absorb material, and experience life at a more relaxed pace.
Enjoy your journey to the beautiful world of books,
wherever that journey may take you. Thanks for joining us for this part of our journey. We hope this episode added value. For more information on what we do, please visit our website at www.thejourneytohere.co.za.
If you liked what you heard, please join us on a regular basis by subscribing through your favorite podcasting platform. Even better, listen to us on Fountain FM, where you can send us and other content creators sats in a value for value exchange.
We look forward to having you along for the rest of your journey to here,
wherever your here may be.
Tap, 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 tap.
A lot of tap, tap, and smack, smack.